Hi, and welcome back to my channel. Here I am at beautiful Monrovia Falls. Today is April the 4th, 2019, after our wet winter. So in this little video series, we're going to stop at various places along the Bill Cull Trail to look at some different geological features, some different native vegetation. And so this is actually a 30-foot waterfall. It's a pretty popular trail. This is a park that belongs to the city of Monrovia. And it's a fairly easy hike. It's, depending on, if you park by the nature center, it's about 3/4 of a mile. If you take the Bill Cull Trail, that's a little under 2 miles. There's a longer trail here called the Ben Overturf Trail, which is about 7 to 8 miles round trip. So this can get a little bit busy on the weekends. You can park here at the park for about $5 during the week and $6 on the weekends. But you can park for free if you park in the neighborhood and don't mind walking another quarter mile or so. Okay? So this begins our intro here to this short video series, and so we're going to stop at various places along the way, including the nature center. So with that, let's go. Come along, and we're going to take a look at some cool things. And here we are looking downstream in Monrovia Canyon at our beautiful riparian forest here. The majority of these trees that you see behind me are white alders, which are probably one of the most common tree found along creeks, along riparian corridors where there's a lot of water. Once you kind of get a little bit more up into the mountains, they basically replace the sycamore, the western sycamore tree, once you get, maybe above, a couple thousand feet above sea level or so. And it's not the only dominant tree. There's also a lot of big-leaved maple. I'm going to point that out in the next clip if I can find some. But there's also an abundance of these leaves of these trees here. This is a leaf of a California bay tree or laurel tree. Okay, this is a very common tree found along riparian woodlands, in oak woodlands that are found on the north slopes of many hillsides around here. And it has a very distinct, pleasant smell. It smells a lot like eucalyptus in many ways, but you don't want to smell too much of it all at once, otherwise it might give you a little bit of a headache. People actually do use these leaves. Again, they're very long and tapered, okay, and they are sometimes used for cooking. So there's a lot of these herbs that you find over here, or these, not herbs, but herb layer. This is something called snake root. And there's also a lot of shrubs here that come from the ribes, R-I-B-E-S genus, which includes currants and gooseberries, which are also quite common here. Okay, but yeah, all the lush deciduous foliage of these trees back here are all white alders. A very, very common tree found in riparian areas along creeks throughout California and beyond, all up and down the west coast. So with that, we're going to make our next stop very shortly, so I'll see you then. And welcome to our third stop here along the Monrovia Canyon Trail to the waterfall. So this is actually on our way back. So we're going back downstream toward the nature center. And I'm here because I want to point out a couple very important plants. One, which is probably if you can't identify any other native plants, I'd be able to identify this. This is a plant where I am not going to pick off a leaf and show you. I have to show you it's in its natural form. And that is this. All of that is poison oak. It has little red veins. It has 3 leaves, and I'm very careful to not touch it. And of course you can see much more of it back over here. So all of this, all of that, that is all poison oak. Now, where do you typically find poison oak growing? What kind of habitats? A lot of people will say that you typically find it close to water or by the water. Well, it's not exactly a riparian plant. This is, we're not talking about willow or cattails or something like that. But it definitely does need more moisture. It's found very commonly in the oak woodlands that are faced north on north-facing hillsides or in ravines. But you're not going to find it like in standing water or, in places that are very frequently flooded. But they do need a lot of shade. And they do turn a bright red color in late summer and fall. So it's actually one of the few plants here that's in our forests here in the Southern California mountains that does turn a bright red fall color. Yeah, you're typically going to find it in ravines underneath oak trees, but not necessarily right along a stream per se. Now, poison oak is eaten by deer. Not all animals are affected by it. Even among people, some people are very sensitive to it. Others, like me, I don't really have too much of a, I wouldn't touch it, I'd probably break out in a rash, but some people can be just downwind of poison oak and break out in a rash. Now there's another tree I want to point out a little bit further off in the distance. See this foliage over here? That is our native maple. It's called big-leafed maple. Okay, all that right up there. The main trunk of this tree is basically behind this white alder trunk. And this is our native maple. It's another riparian tree species that you find up in the mountains and is found all the way up through Northern California and the Pacific Northwest. Whereas once you get up to like the San Francisco Bay Area and beyond, where it's wet enough where it's found very commonly in the uplands. But here in Southern California, it's pretty much only going to be found along our mountain canyons. It can be found a little bit further away from the water than the white alder. But again, it does also turn a little bit of fall color. It's not exactly a kind of tree that you would get maple syrup from, like the sugar maple of the East. But still, nonetheless, it's a really beautiful tree. And again, it's one of our dominant trees along with white alder. So with that, we're going to take a stop at go to our next stop, and I'll see you then. And here we are, wrapping up our little tour here of Monrovia Canyon Park, overlooking the beautiful San Gabriel Valley off in the distance. So here I am at the top of the road that goes into the park, where there's a small nature center that's usually open during the normal hours from like 11 to 5, but unfortunately is closed right now. Yeah, this basically wraps up our tour and showing some various examples of the local flora in the canyon, from the falls and down to here. So with that, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you next time.